আপনি কয়শো টাকার হিসাব চান? যতশো টাকার হিসাব চান ততশো টাকার হিসাবও দিতে পারেন।
ভাই আপনি ফ্রি আছেন? দাঁড়াতে হবে কিছু,
ঠিক আছে।
ছবি তুলবো আমরা জয় ভাইয়া না এমনি ভালো লাগতেছে জয় নাকি ইয়ে করবো কোড খুলবো?
না না ঠিক আছে।
ঘটনা কি লাভ?
ভাইয়া
20 মিনিট আগে আমি বলে দিই।
ওকে
আচ্ছা লাইভ
হচ্ছে। হ্যাঁ ফেসবুক লাইভ তো চলতেছে।
Welcome back to our next segment. I'd like to welcome everyone
Live শুরু হয়ে গেছে।
to the first panel discussion of today's Day of Time, 50 years of Bangladesh Pathways and Trajectories, organized by Center for Common Studies. The topic of this panel discussion is urbanization, and it's my privilege to welcome on stage Dr. Asif Shahan, Associate Professor of University of Dhaka, Dr. Odilala Mojumdar, Founder Secretary of Citizens for Good Governance,
ফেসবুক শুরু হয়েছে,
and
ইউটিউবটা
Dr.
দেখতেছি।
Ahmed Khan, Executive Director of Center for Governance Studies, for this session. Dr. Anuria, distinguished
কি লিখ দেওয়ার আগে যাই
নাম বলে না কেন?
লাইভ শুরু হয়েছে না?
নাম বলে না কেন? ওইটা হলো সবার নাম বলছে?
The moderator of this session is Dr. Asif Shahan. He is currently working as an associate professor at University and Department of Development Studies, University of Dhaka. He has worked on different issues related with administration, government performance, and social protection and
আসিফ শান moderator কিন্তু।
and requesting to take the floor for moderating this session.
At Department of Development Studies, University of Dhaka. He has worked on different issues related with administrative system, governance, performance, accountability, social protection and governance of Bangladesh. And request him to take the floor
Yes,
for
very yes, very
moderation.
close.
This is a very distinguished panel.
হ্যাঁ ওই যে ডক্টর আসিফ।
ডক্টর আসিফ শান is the moderator. No, no, এটা লাস্ট। ডক্টর আসিফ শান is speaking now.
Moving into the over discussion, provide a brief
Currently
introduction of
working
our
as a
discussion.
professor at the Department of
As you know,
at the Department of administrative system গভর্নমেন্ট থেকে গভর্নেন্স বাংলাদেশ
থাকবে
এন্ড এর আগ পর্যন্ত কাটে। ওখানে এন্ড আপনাদের এখানে চেষ্টা আছে নাকি স্টপ
moderating the session আমাদের পালিত হবে এখন হইতেছে না স্পিকিং না বললে মডারেটিং দ্য সেশন দিলে তো হয় না
ফুল স্টপ
সেশন অন গভর্নেন্স
না দরকার নাই ফুল স্টপ মডারেটিং মডারেটিং এটা কাটো বাংলাদেশ কাটো বাংলাদেশ হ্যাশট্যাগ বাংলাদেশ কাটো
Start this session. Before starting the session, I need to respond to one thing.
Moderating the session.
Governance is try to use this
এটা ওনার মনেই আছে
and we try to
টুইট হ্যান্ডেল।
আচ্ছা তো আপনার কথাটা আসতেছে কেন এখন
sometimes it is
ওটা নাই
the process of governing when Martin talks about governance is more
ওবিএস আমার মাইক্রোফোন ইউজ করতেছে ওবিএস থেকে অফ করতে হবে ওবিএস থেকে অফ করে বলবে না
ইউটিউব দিছো? হ্যাঁ ইউটিউব চলতেছে, মাইক্রোফোনটা চলতেছে, মাইক্রোফোন অফ করে দিই।
সেটিং থেকে দেন
আস্তে ধীরে করুন, আস্তে ধীরে 10 মিনিট পরে
অডিও
So let me start from that particular perspective, from political governance perspective. And as long as we have Dr. Aligas,
আচ্ছা আউটপুট
I want to start with him. To Dr. Aligas, my question is,
আসিফ শাহান
whenever we are talking about political governance, whenever we are talking about a democratic political governance,
নাই দিয়ে দিলাম আমি
how should we actually define that concept? How should we
এখানে লেখা
actually sort of
দাঁড়ানো
see the
একটা কাজ করতে
political
পারি
governance in the perspective of Bangladesh? and how
এখানে কি
we
আমাদের ভয়েস রেকর্ডের কোনো অপশন আছে?
এই যে লেখা OBS মাইক্রোফোন হ্যাঁ
কোন এক্সপেরিয়েন্স বাজছে? কোন এক্সপেরিয়েন্স দরকার?
এক্সপেরিমেন্ট না আমাদের এখানে কথা বলতেছি এটা আছে।
So probably you're muted. I think you can unmute yourself.
So probably you're muted. I think you unmute yourself.
I think we have some technical issues, but I'm sorry, I think you're muted. Can you hear me now? Yeah, we can hear you. Thank you, sir. Yeah.
I think you're muted.
We lost you again.
Can you hear me now? Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir, we can. Yeah.
Okay, sorry for the interruption. It seems like there's some confusion with respect to the muting, technical things here. Nevertheless, what I was saying, thank you for this generous introduction, and thank you to CTI for arranging this wonderful session and giving this opportunity to join this ST panel. As you have raised, of course, there are two ways to assess the governance, and you are trying to focus on the political part. Let me put it this way, the way I see the question of governance and assessing, particularly when we are looking at the 50 years of celebration of Bangladesh, there are two ways to look at it. And as Dr. Shahan has tried to point it out, the common attributes with respect to the governments, the ones usually used by multilateral organization or the World Bank, so to speak, they use few attributes, and 6 of them are quite common and quite well known. Those are the ones: the transparency, accountability, control of corruption, efficiency, inclusiveness, and rule of law. In a sense, those are the operative part of it. Governance in the sense of the daily routine works that you can think of. That is one way to look at it. Its importance and its significance cannot be underestimated, or definitely I would not say that these are not useful. Of course those are, and we will use those even in case of Bangladesh, when Bangladesh is celebrating the 50 years, or even if it is 100 years, we are going to use some kind of attributes to look at them. Over the last 50 years, based on these attributes, whether the Bangladesh has succeeded, or at least
Or even if it is 100 years, some kind of activity. Over the last 50 years, based on these
আমাদের সমস্যা হয়তো
Need to connect with Dr. Alvidia's, later on. There is clearly some technical issues, and we will listen to him once we go back. But before coming to Dr. Alvidia's conference stable, let me go back to Dr. Fahmi and sort of raise an important question. And we all know that Bangladesh has sort of gone through a significant round of economic growth, or even achievements and development achievements has been really great. But at the same time, as we were talking about before, that growth has been achieved within a macro or governance indicators, or expressing governance indicators of decline over the period, or democracy support has declined So my question to Dr. Pamela is, how are we achieving growth within a governance policy? How can we sort of experience Oh, great. I mean, we have different with so I think let's hear from you, and you will come back with the economic question, later. Sorry, Dr. Red, we probably lost you due to some technical difficulties. You were talking about political governance, and you were talking about the significance of other indicators. But now you can sort of move on with your discussion.
Political governance, and we're talking about the significance of other indicators. But
I think are you asking me?
Yes. Sorry, yes. I'm asking you, sir. So, yeah.
Now, what I was saying is that the one way to assess with this using these indicators, these attributes that we know, and in this context, one of the major problems that we have seen is, say for example, the transparency issue or the accountability issue, particularly if you look at the accountability issue. In case of the governance in Bangladesh, for the past 50 years, accountability, there are various ways of accountability. One, of course, is the vertical one that we know. The vertical one is the electoral system to begin. And over the last 50 years, what we have seen, if we discount the first two decades, because the first two decades, most of it was under conventional regime, hence there was no reason for even expecting a sort of accountability. The conventional regime said, ruled the country without any mandate. Hence, even before that, there has been tendency of authoritarianism despite the election. But since 1991, when we saw Bangladesh start in its third decade, the accountability mechanism that was supposed to be in place, the vertical accountability mechanism that was supposed to be there is the election. Initially, there was a system that emerged out of the caretaker government that would allow to have at least once in 5 years an election which is fair or relatively fair, at least acceptable and inclusive. But that situation is gone. So if you look at the vertical accountability mechanism, that has left completely, left out of this accountability mechanism that Bangladesh could have, should have, and would have. In a similar fashion, if you are talking about the horizontal mechanisms, the civil society, or in case of the parliamentary system, as we know, the parliamentary committees. But given that the parliament has not actually functioned well in this, so the parliamentary committees have not succeeded in managing or maintaining some sort of supervision or monitoring of the governance part, that is the executive part. We didn't see much. But also, in terms of this horizontal, there are other ways of mechanism that should have been in institutions, such as National Human Rights Commission, such as SEC, that is Anti-Corruption Commission, or other organizations that could be the civil society organizations. But even if we take that the horizontal mechanism will be the ones which are constitutionally mandated, such as National Human Rights Commission, such as Anti-Corruption Commission, none of them actually function. None of them practically function because whoever is in power have never been committed to this accountability. Even today, if you look at these, what we have seen, National Human Rights Commission has not been, has not taken up any issue that would make the incumbent accountable. So, when the Anti-Corruption Commission, Chief of Anti-Corruption Commission recently, who has just been retiring from his seat, I say that he would rather prioritize the image of the country. That means, and make compromises according to him. So this means that clearly that the institutional matter of constitutionally mandated horizontal accountability mechanism should work. Then if you take the societal mechanism, that comes from the civil society, that comes from the media. In case of Bangladesh, there is a large number of media, and often it is argued that media works because we have so many media, so many outlets, television channels, and everything. But given the relentless attack on the civil society, verification of civil society that we have seen over the years. Once there was a very vibrant civil society in Bangladesh, which could have been, initially there had been some kind of accountability in place, the demand for accountability. But that didn't continue because of the over the past decade or so. What we have seen two things we have seen since 1991 in case of civil society. One is the politicization of civil society. That means clearly a partisan nature. And this partisan nature has fragmented the civil society and weakened it. And eventually the vilification and other attacks, practically it has decimated the world. So here we go. I am just taking one of these items. Then if you look at the inclusion or rule of law, take for example in case of rule of law, we know that until 2007, there hasn't been any substantive effort to make the judiciary independent. The relationship between the executive and judiciary was so tilted towards the independence of the judiciary was completely non-existent, despite the fact the Constitution actually talked about it. Hence, we have seen in 2007, unfortunately, the government which was not mandated to govern came forward and done it, which reflected the court's verdict. But what happens? Recently, retiring justice, the Supreme Court has mentioned that he is only on paper. He didn't go further, but he told us that we know. So let us assume that we do know what is the situation. If we do know that rule of law over the last 15 years, even now, when justice is telling us that it is only on paper, we can understand the situation. And then all these mechanisms, all these institutions that were supposed to be there has not been. Rather, what we have seen is the concentration of power. And in case of Bangladesh, particularly after 1990, when Bangladesh moved from the presidential system to prime ministerial system, and deliberately using that one as opposed to parliamentary system. Because what happened? Yes, of course, Bangladesh officially own constitution moved to the parliamentary system. But when it moved to the parliamentary system, it has transferred the power of presidency, lock, stock, and barrel to the prime minister. And given the Bangladesh constitution and Bangladeshi political party, gives the individual leader of the party so much power, and that constitutionally, the power has concentrated into the hands of the people. Whoever that may be, that's not the point. It is the fact. We have seen since 1990, gradually this is called executive aggrandizement. Prime Minister represents the executive party. Hence, when the Prime Minister is, or Prime Minister's office and Prime Minister personally is having this kind of power as a leader of the party, as the Prime Minister, as the leader of the parliamentary party, and then you have Article 70, which does not allow the members of the parliament to speak out with his own party. What does happen? It happens that practically, on the one hand, it is shutting the accountability mechanism completely off. On the other hand, we are seeing that there is no way of asking for any kind of transparency. And that is what has happened. So if you take those indicators, but then again, what I would say is that let us for a moment move away. Move away and look at what the Bangladeshi political party, Bangladeshi constitution and the Bangladesh proclamation of independence. Both of them actually lay down what should be the goal of this country and how the governance should be set. If you look at that, what happens is that is what they say, that they have a mandate. They came up with this proclamation because they had a mandate. And that is what is missing in this case. In case of Bangladesh, the fairly accurate democratic mandate is missing. And the second thing, and I was I want to the second point is power to the people. Basically, the Bangladesh constitution saying that all powers in the republic belong to the people. If there is no way of representation in the public assembly, But then, how do you expect that the government should be assessed? This is the basis of the assessing the government. That is how I see it.
Right, sir.
I don't see a very positive
Right.
thing.
So I will come back to you. I will come back to you. I mean, due to time constraint, I have to sort of move ahead. There are several issues that you have raised regarding the role of the institutions of accountability, how they are failing, how the democratic system has kind of faltering. We will come back to those issues later. But you kind of set a kind of good state for the next question. That when we are talking about all the failures of the democratic system, we still see that Bangladesh is improving. Bangladesh is making achievements in the development area. That is why we often consider Bangladesh as a development paradigm. So that kind of sets up my next question to Dr. Mohammed, asked earlier, that how can we explain this? How can Bangladesh achieve this success within this malfunctioning government?
Thank you very much. Good morning to everyone. And I'd like to congratulate CGS for organizing this. And on this occasion, I'd like to remember the martyrs of independence and the celebrating the 50th anniversary of Bangladesh independence. And I also remember the father of the nations on this occasion. So this discussion is very important. I think Professor Alibert has set the scene to a large extent. Now, you have rightly pointed out that during the last 5 decades, Bangladesh's economy has progressed very impressively as compared to its peers. If you look at South Asian countries, or if you look at the other least developed countries across the world, it has outpaced all other economies. It is one of the outliers, even during crises like the ongoing corona pandemic. Now, there are several explanations for this progress. I will come to the governance issue later, but if you look at some of the reasons for development, because I think you all know that many economists have also described that Bangladesh is developing surprise. I mean, it's termed as developing surprise, but and development occurred despite deficiency in many aspects, not only in governance. But I think that what has worked for Bangladesh, two, three indicators. One is the policy stability. In the beginning, we were talking about some of the indicators of governance. This World Bank's worldwide governance indicator, which includes 6 indicators. But there are debates also, because this, I mean, how do we define governance, and whether these 6 indicators encompass all aspects of governance, that is a big question. But even then, I will deal with that later on. But so. Quite often, we discuss about political stability. Here, I'm talking about policy stability, because I think since Bangladesh's birth, Bangladesh started with an economy which wanted to be a centralized, planned economic structure framework. But after the killing of the father of the nation in 1975, the economy the policies have changed. It has taken a shift towards open market economy, privatization, denationalization, all this happened. Towards the 80s and 90s and afterwards, so we have opened up. And what has happened that no matter which political party came to power, the broader policy regime had remained similar. Because after, from the time of the structural adjustment policy, which was initiated by the World Bank, that which also expedited the process of privatization and open market policy. So that policy has been actually consolidated in the later decades by all governments of the day. So there was some sort of policy stability. And also, along with enabling domestic policies, there were global policies which helped Bangladesh. For example, there was a multi-fiber arrangement under which Bangladesh was given, not only Bangladesh, the least developed countries were given duty-free quota-free market access. And Bangladeshi entrepreneurs, particularly the ready-made garments manufacturers, they could take advantage of that, and they could, export and contribute to the national foreign exchange reserve. The other issue is that along with the enabling policy environment, people of Bangladesh have been very resilient. If you look at three major sectors of the economy, the agriculture, the manufacturing sector, and the services sector. So the policies which have been provided for agriculture, including input subsidies and various support for the inputs and technology, we have seen now that Bangladesh has become a food self-sufficient country. So we don't have to import, only about 5% of our requirement we have to import. So, the innovation in the agriculture through green revolution, what is termed as green revolution, that has really helped. And those are actually local innovation rather than, indigenous innovation rather than external innovation. So that's one thing. So, of course, the government support combined with the people's contribution. Now, if you look at the life cycle certificate, I have just mentioned regarding the Bangladeshi private women had taken advantage of the global policy. So they had come to the ready-made garments and the food industry, and they could increase their exports. So they could fully utilize, or much better than other countries. There are many, about 48 agencies, 48 or 50 agencies in the last 30 years. So not all of them could utilize those facilities which have been given. And now, if you come to the third sector, the services, so which is the remittances or services people. So Bangladesh is again another example of in exporting human resources, and these are the less skilled, low skilled human resources who earn remittances that could send to Bangladesh. So that is again another very important source of foreign exchange. So all these sectors, behind all these sectors, people have really contributed. Now, if you come, so these are the important issues, how Bangladesh has progressed and how it is doing so well. Now, the relationship between growth and governance is somewhat fuzzy and not very clear in case of, at least in case of Bangladesh. We see that as we are doing, we are having high growth, but at the same time, if you look at the governance index, which WGI, we are, even if you compare among the South Asian countries, we are not doing well. There are theories that as you progress economically, then you can, you can also focus more on improving the governance. But but when you look at the chart, the chart I will show that a trend which is showing that economic growth is going up, but at the same time governance indicators are fluctuating. Sometimes it is going downward. So, which means that economic growth is not helping towards improving governance. In many countries, we have seen historically, for example, China, for example, South Korea, at the initial phase of their development, they had poor governance. But what we see now that, particularly in the case of South Korea, which is a high-income country, and it has improved its governance to a large extent. But then again, as I have mentioned, that these 6 indicators are not comprehensive, and they also don't have data,
but then again,
scientific
I have
data
noticed
to
that
prove
these
scientifically that whether
indicators
there
are
is
not
a
uniform
relationship between
indicators.
growth and
So
governance. That
there
is
is
a
no
very
the
difficult question.
scientific data suggests
Now, maybe
there is
as
a
I mentioned that
movement
when economists
in
call
growth and
that
governance. That
development
is a very
surprise
difficult
despite
question. Now,
governance
when
deficiency. But
as I
there are
mentioned
also
that many economists
explanations
call
that
that
why Bangladesh
despite
progressed despite
governance
governance. This is
deficiency,
not only I have mentioned
there are also
giving you
explanations that
some of the
why
indicators, but
Bangladesh
also the Bangladesh's
progressed despite governance. This is
low
I
cost
have mentioned
technology,
some
then
of the
innovation
indicators, but
in case
also
of
the
particularly in case of
Bangladesh's
health and nutrition,
low
and
low
support
cost
by the
technology,
non-government
then
organizations and
innovation
also
in
microfinance. So these
some
are other
indicators
factors
also
which
system
had helped
and
not
support
only
by
for
the
economic
non-government
development but also for
organizations
social
and also
development. So
microfinance. So
this is
these are other
another
factors which had helped not only
another
economic
explanation.
development but
Now,
also
yes,
social
though we don't
development.
have
So
data,
this
but
is
there are evidences which prove
another
that
explanation. Now,
that there is a
though we don't
deficiency
have data, but
in some
there
of
are
the economic
evidences
institutions. For
which
example,
prove that
and governance
that
can
there is a
actually
deficiency in
have a
some of the
negative
economic
impact
institutions. See,
or impact, discouraging
governance
impact for
can
some
actually
economic
have a
activities. For
negative impact
example, private investment in
or
Bangladesh
impact,
is
it's a
not very
discouraging
encouraging
impact
for the
for
last
some
couple of
economic
years,
activity.
despite the
For
fact
example,
that the
private
government has
investment in
put
Bangladesh is not
investment
in
policies
a
for
couple of years,
domestic private
despite the
investment and
fact
also
that
for foreign
there
private
has
investment,
been
foreign development, foreign type of investment. But this is not,
and
we are
also
not
for
seeing
foreign
a surge in that.
লিঙ্কটা একটু আমার
Why
দাও তো
is that? Because
governmental
for
private investment.
investment,
লিঙ্কটা
investors will
Not
look
একটু
at a
পাঠাবো
lower
ভাই আমি
indicator,
তো
at least two indicators. One
কয়েকজন
is the
চাইছেন পাঠাবো
transaction
for
cost, that
investment,
how much
the investors
cost,
will
what we
look
call
at
that
two
ease of doing
indicators,
business or
at
cost
least
of
two
doing
indicators.
business.
One is
So
the
how much transaction
transaction
cost is
that
involved
how much
to invest,
cost
to set up
what
an
we call
industry
that
or to
ease of
make an
doing business or
investment.
cost of
So that
doing
is one
business.
factor.
How
And
much
then the
transaction
second
cost
one
is
is also
involved
related
to
to
invest
expectation
in
হ্যাঁ
or the
মেসেজ যাবে
expectations of investor. Because
so
when
that
an
is one
investor
factor. And
comes,
then the second
the
one
investor
is
looks
also related to
not
this.
only for
This
today,
is the
but also
transaction
for
or the
tomorrow and
exchange
beyond that,
because
in
when
the
an
medium
investor
to
comes,
longer term.
so the
So
investment
what is
not
expected,
only for
how
today
the
but also
investment
for tomorrow
will
and beyond that, in the medium
give
to
the
long
return.
term
So
perspective.
these are the
This
factors,
is
and
expected.
this
How
is
the
also a matter of
investment
perception.
will
Not only the
uh,
indicators or
give
the numbers do not
return.
really
So these
always
are the factors
give
and
the
যেইটা
real
ওইখানে চলতেছে
scenario in the
হ্যাঁ
picture. So
ওইটা এখানে
those are the
পাইতেছি
factors
the
in case of
indicators
private
or the
investment.
numbers cannot
Similarly, I will
always
just mention
ওইটা
two
হাতে আছে
other
মানে ওইটা অনলাইন
real
চলতেছে
two
scenario
other
in the picture.
areas
So
where
these are the factors
governance
in
is
the
very
private
important.
investment.
Another one
Similarly,
is
I
that if
have
you look at
mentioned
the
two other
domestic
certain
resource mobilization,
two other areas
Bangladesh
where
is now at a journey.
governance can help
You
them.
know that it is a
One
high
is
growing
if
country.
you look at
It
the
is going to be
domestic resource mobilization,
developing country. It
Bangladesh is
has
now at a
will
journey
be
to become
graduating
a
from this developed country by
high-growing country.
2060,
It is going to be
2026. So
developing
the
country.
whole
It
dynamics
will be
of or
graduating
the
to
whole
be developed
development
country by
trajectory will change. So
2060,
now domestic resource
2026.
mobilization
So
will be very
the
important. But
whole
again, here
dynamic
we are seeing that
or the
Bangladesh
পাইছি পাইছি
trajectory will
এই
is
লিঙ্কটা
change.
নিব
not,
কেমনে
the
Now,
performance will
domestic
be
resource
very
mobilization
oriented.
is very
But if you
important.
look at
But
even
again,
within
we are
Southeast
seeing
Asia,
that
it is
Bangladesh
the lowest within South
not
Asia in terms of
শেয়ার
tax GDP ratio, revenue
but
GDP
if
ratio.
you look at
Why is that not working?
ASEAN,
এই
Because
it is the lowest
after 5
within
decades
South
or
Asia
50
in terms
years
of
of
tax
Bangladesh's
GDP ratio,
independence,
revenue GDP
and
ratio.
we are
Why
also,
is that like that?
talking
ঠিক
about
আছে
using technology,
After five
using,
decades or 50 years of Bangladesh
improving the
independence,
skills of human
and we
resources
are also
capacity development,
talking about
but
using
we are
technology,
not being able to, improve on that
improving the
because there are also,
skills of human resources.
discussions or there are also some,
But we are not being able to
again, there is no
improve on
evidences
that.
as such,
There
so
are
there's no
also
studies, but as
deficiencies
from
and there are also some
anecdotal information and all, we know
again
that there are
there are no evidences as
inefficiency
such.
and
There are
also
studies
bad
as
practices. The bigger,
anecdotal information evidence
the
show
powerful
that
people
there are
or the
inefficiencies
more
and
influential
also
people
bad
can get
practices
away with blue attached,
শেয়ার করে দিলে
whereas
ওটা কি শেয়ার
others,
করতে যে এটা
the
শেয়ার
yellow
হয়েছে
and
তখন
red or green are actually regular attacks,
হলো
but when you quite clear that which is people, which is from the society, how much they have paid out. So that issue, tax avoidance is
না
very high. Also, PTC
আব্দুল
financial
ভাই
activities also very
না
high.
আমি যোগাযোগ করি না
The third one,
ইয়ারা জিজ্ঞেস করো তো
আসান তো আর বলতেছে আসান করে
is
নাই
the
সময়
financial
তাহলে
sector.
জিল্লুর করছে
Now, we are saying that the banking sector
এই যে শেয়ার হেরে দিব না
is grappling with the high
কিন্তু এটা তো লাইভ যাচ্ছে না
if you look at the
শেয়ার
these are the powerful people who have who are rich, who have connections with the power, and they are not really classify them loans and
এটা পুরানটা যাইতেছে এখন কোনটা গো
this is where in the rule of law or where in governance, this is another sector which
আমার
is
ফেসবুকে
suffering from lack of governance very, very strongly. Now, how do we I'll just read in one line that though we don't have evidences that the governance, lack of governance is striking with growing despite these deficiencies, but I think, at one point in time, if you want to sustain that growth, then the problem will arise. Maybe we don't know how far we can go, but at one point in time, when you have really lack of resources, domestic resources,
কেন আমার ফেসবুক তো লগ ইন করা
আলাদা ব্রাউজারে চলে গেছে যে ব্রাউজারে নাই
in financial sector or in case of private investment, because investment is also related to employment generation. So in the medium to long term, we will have problems. We do not have these challenges.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Moving forward, talked about the most but at the same time, we have also pointed out the future problems. They are very important in the future in terms of sustainability.
এটা বেস্ট করলে হবে না
Now, but at the same time, when Dr. Amir was talking about they are very important. Society has very important not only making what we have done when Dr. Amir was talking about more accountable, more managed, and at the same time more effective. So going back to that particular perspective, I want to ask Dr. Amir so going back to that particular perspective, I want to ask Dr. the challenges that you see the civil society organization in sort of
Where is the civil society in question? I don't see any civil society. In fact, the civil society I see, much of it is evil society in a sense. The civil society or dominating civil society. And in fact, our successive governments have been able to divide the core of the civil society into our civil society and the civil society through patronage institutions, through giving different type of privileges from vice chancellorship to other appointments. So the civil society truly is that part of the society that speaks for people's rights, that speaks out of their commitment to uphold the rights of the people and driven by their conscience. And they are non-partisan, and that number has been building over time. So I don't see much of a civil society, unfortunately.
Driven by their concept.
But civil society has an important role. I look at governance as in the form of a triangle. In one corner of the triangle is laws, rules, and laws and rules which are framed in the interest of the people, to support the people, to safeguard the interest of the people. So that is very important that rules and laws are the right kind of laws. And some laws that we now criticizing
very important that
and asking
rules
for
and laws are
the
right kind of
application
balance.
of those
And
laws, such as
some
reject.
laws that may be
And
now
laws like
criticizing
these are not
and
really framed
and asking for
to promote the interests or promote the rights of the people.
laws.
So laws and rules must be in the interest of the people.
Laws like
That's one part of the triangle. The other part is the process,
or promote the rights
the
of the
system.
people. So
The
laws
process
and
and
rules
system also must be right.
That's
To
one
be
part.
able to make sure that the laws and rules are followed, and also whenever there are inconsistencies, there are deviations, the rules and the systems will kick in and take care of the problem. So this is the second leg of the triangle. The third leg is the institution.
And the systems.
There are three types of institutions. One is constitutional institution. These are created to make sure that the power that we as voters transfer to a group of people who become our representatives, they work in our interest. And whenever they are empowered, one of the unique features of power is that power is concentrated, power is misused. So these constitutional bodies are created to make sure that the power doesn't corrupt, and also power is not used in the self-interest of those who have been empowered by being elected. They don't use that power for their own self-interest as well as in their voter interest. And that was good enough. Then there are institutions that are created by laws.
That was not enough. Then
Anti-Corruption Commission, Human Rights Commission,
that are created by
the other commissions. And these are also supposed to serve the same purpose, to keep eyes on the rulers and the people who are in power, so that they don't misuse power or grab power and concentrate power. Then there is the other leg is the institutions. There are, we talked about two types of institutions. And the other institutions is non-state institutions. That's where comes the civil society. The institutions, the constitutional institutions, as well as institutions created by law, they are supposed to keep eyes on the rulers and those who are powerful. But the civil society is expected to keep tab on everybody, including all these institutions, other institutions. So if the civil society is not functional, if civil society is not vibrant, if civil society doesn't do its job, then the other institutions can also become non-functional and not serve the interests of the people, rather serve in the interest of the rulers and the voters. So it is very important that we have a vibrant, strong, functional civil society. Unfortunately, we do not have such a civil society in this country. And one of the reasons is that the space has been shrinking. The restrictive laws and the enforcement of those laws and taking away our political rights as well as our civic rights. And in that situation, the civil society cannot really function. And also, in this country there is misunderstanding about civil society, and many times NGOs are taken to represent the civil society. But NGOs are not necessarily civil society. There are different types of NGOs. NGOs come in many shapes and sizes. There are microcredit NGOs, and they really do not
different types of viewers. Viewers come in
act
many
to
types.
uphold the rights of the children and do not challenge the authorities
They
to
really
ensure that the people's rights are safeguarded. And then there are also service delivery initiatives. There are a lot of service delivery
do not challenge the authority.
and they basically are the contractors. They do contract work for the government and many times. And they also do not challenge the government. So they are not really, they do advocacy for certain rights, which do not really make the rulers and the ruling authorities upset, such as women's rights. And they are not, they don't have to confront the rulers for promoting the women's rights. So in a sense, they are also part of the civil society, but they are not really the civil society which promotes people's political rights. And they are civic rights, fundamental rights. Then there are very limited number of organizations which are advocacy organizations and which try to promote the people's rights and which try to safeguard people's rights. And because of the shifting space, and because of the restrictive laws, and because of the other repressive measures, and they cannot really function, unfortunately. So this is the state of affairs. And in fact, the civil society over time becoming weaker and weaker in Bangladesh. In fact, the people, very limited number of people, very limited number of organizations which have been standing up to the authorities and challenging the authorities and promoting the rights of the people. Their number is dwindling. Part of the reason is natural reason, and part of the reason is the various patronages that have been distributed through patronage distribution. They have been bought off, basically, and also the repressive measures of the successive government also silence many of them, and they feel it's safe to go silent, not to challenge the authority, not to speak up, and not to do anything that will risk their own safety and security as well as their loved ones' safety and security. And so this is the state of affairs, and we are not in a good shape. If we have to have a vibrant democratic system, we need not only vibrant constitutional institutions, we not only need the statutory bodies, but also the non-state institutions. At the same time, we need the right kind of laws. The laws and rules which serve the interests of the people. To give an example, many of you know that two laws were framed at the same time. One was Digital Security Act and the other is the Road Safety Act. Digital Security Act went into effect right away because it was not in the interest of the money. It was intended to serve the rulers. So it went into effect right away, and it has been taking its bites and taking its toll on many people. On the other hand, the Road Safety Act has been stumbling along, and it has not been able to be implemented yet, because that would have served the interest of the people. That was going against the voter interest. So this is the state of affairs, and I end here.
Thanks a lot. We are really running out of time, and I want to allocate some time for question answer. But I just want to sort of give our panelists just one round. And considering the time concern, I want to give everyone not more than two and a half minutes. So I understand that's very difficult to talk about, but since we have talked about the past and the present, talked about the bleak scenario, I want to go back to Professor Ali. What do you think about the future and what can actually be achieved?
But since we have talked about the past
I
and
know
the
we cannot
present,
answer
talked about the bleak scenario, I want to go back to Professor Alias. What do you think about the future and what can actually be?
Yeah. I mean, just after this round, we will ask questions. After this round, we will ask questions.
Broad perspective, I think
Yes, Professor Alias.
ঠিক আছে
Yeah. I mean,
Dr. Shahan,
after this round, we will
if
ask
we want to
questions.
look at the
After this
future,
round, we will
the
ask
future
questions.
is made
Yes,
today.
Professor Ali, yes.
Future is not something that is going to emerge out of
Dr.
nowhere.
Shahan,
The current
if we
trajectory
want to
that we
look at the
see with
future,
respect to the
the
institutional
future
building,
is made today.
there's no
Future
incentive
is not
from the
something that is
incumbent
going to
for
emerge out
building
of
these
nowhere. The
institutions.
current
Rather, they would
trajectory
prefer
that
not
we
to
see
have.
with respect to the institutional
As Dr.
building,
Birnila Devulekar has rightly
there's no
pointed out, the
incentive from the
institutions,
incumbent for
the
building this
if you call it
institution.
non-state
Rather, they
actors,
prefer not
they
to.
are practically decimated,
As
weakened,
Dr. Birla
silenced,
Jamudintar has
and the
rightly pointed,
constitutional
we cannot speak of
institutions have not been built as
non-state,
such
if we call it
to
non-state actors,
supervise, to monitor.
they are
So what is the
practically
value? What is the trajectory?
weakened,
Trajectory
silenced.
is
As
until
the
and
constitutional
unless you go back to the
institutions have
basics
not been built
of
as
which
such
Bangladesh constitution has
to
insisted.
supervise the
And
monitoring.
that's why
So
I
what
think
is
the
the path?
primary
What is the
thing
trajectory?
at this point
Trajectory
on the
is
question of
until
governance
and
is
unless
with
we get
respect
to the
to
base
establishing the
of which
right
Bangladesh
and of
constitution
the
is
people
insisted. And that's why I think the primary
be part of the
from the
governance.
question of
Here,
governance
how do you
is
become
to
part of the
get
governance if there is no
establishing the right and
fair
basic
election
governance
mechanism? And that is what is more important. Election itself
be
is not
part
going to solve
of the
it,
governance.
but you
Where
cannot
alternative
bypass that.
parties
And that is
definitely
one
there is
thing.
no
That's why
any fair
consent of the
election
government
mechanism. And
is
that is
absolutely
what is more
necessary.
important. Election itself is
Fairly
not going to
accurate
solve it.
democratic
But
mandate
we
is
cannot
necessary.
bypass
Without those,
elections. And that's why
Bangladesh may
consent of the
achieve
governed
some
absolutely
economic
necessary.
growth, which also
Fairly
is lopsided
accurate
to some extent.
democratic mandate is
The governance
necessary.
situation is not
Without
going
this,
to, I do not see any
success may
possibility
happen.
other than the trajectory
Some
is a very
non-Muslim full
non-inclusive
coverage of
governance.
the
And increasingly
constitution.
that will turn into a
The governance
totalitarian
situation is not going to improve. I do not
Thanks a
see
lot. Thanks
any
a lot.
possibility
Thanks for
in terms of the
your
governance. A
giving
very
me
non-inclusive governance, an
Dr.
inclusive
Mohammed, you
governance
know,
that
sort
is
of
very
discussed a
effective.
little bit about the challenges ahead for
Thanks a lot.
Bangladesh
Thanks,
in
Dr. Logan. Thanks
big
for,
government.
reading the comment.
What can
Dr. Swami Dakhat, Nishai,
Yeah, this is a very difficult question and it requires a lot of explanation and research and discussion also. But what I would say that we have done marvelous during the last 50 years, but if we want to move forward and if we want to look for the next 50 years, I think we have to change ourselves. And change now that we are discussing about governance issues, institutional reform is a must because we have done well despite that reforms had not taken place, be it in political reform, be it economic reform. So for economic reforms, since I would focus on economic issues, reform in the banking sector, reform in the national revenue system, reform, overall reform in the whole financial system is required, and also we have to actually prepare for the 21st century reality, and also that since we will be, during the next 50 years, we will be graduating from these developed countries. We will have to be not only compliant within ourselves, but we have to be compliant globally, because we have to then play with the global partners. And as you know that once you graduate, you have to have to have many compliance issues. For example, if you really want to have duty-free access or quota-free access, you can have in the European market. I'm just giving a small example that we had benefited from the duty-free quota-free access, but what will happen after that? Will you still be able to access some of the markets under GSP plus, what is called GSP plus, generalized system of preferences, which we get in the European market? But in order to do that, in order to have that access, we have to improve upon our various compliance in the case of labor issues, in case of environmental issues, in case of human rights issues. So all these have to be improved upon, and for that we need reforms. So this is just one example. Same goes for the financial sector. There are international regulations which we have to abide by. And I would say that in the next 50 years we also have to look at the technological areas. We have to rely more and more on technology, how we can use that for our governance issues that have also many countries have shown.
Right. Thanks a lot.
We have to rely more and more on technology, how we can use that for our governance issues that is also, and many countries have shown that.
Right, thanks a lot.
Okay, the framework the rules, laws, and system, rules, laws, and the systems and the institutions. And if they function, then we have governance system function. We have good governance. If they don't function, we have bad governance. We have autocracy. In fact, this whole governance system has been demolished. And we had a demolition derby, and as a result, all the powers and everything got concentrated. And the system, the laws are framed not to empower people, but to just do the opposite. And the institutions has been really destroyed, and the systems don't work. Now, if we have really have good governance and our economic success will not sustain if we don't have good governance, right governance. And so the rules and laws will have to be framed, amended, or thrown out so that they serve the interests of the people. The systems will have to be in place, and the institutions will have to work so that the institutions ensure the horizontal. Dr. Ali has talked about the horizontal accountability. The institutions can ensure horizontal accountability. And another thing, most important thing actually we need to do is we need to ensure the downward accountability, vertical accountability. And vertical accountability is ensured through elections. After every 5 years, if those who get elected have to go to the people and beg for votes, and the people can show red cards and get rid of them. Then they will have to work in the interest of the people. So we'll have to ensure fair elections, and then make all these institutions work. Then only we can think of a better future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. I think we have 7 minutes, so we can take a couple of questions. So, gentlemen over here, can we just please, go directly to the question, so that we don't necessarily have that much time, so that we can have come back and forth.
Definitely. My name is Mr. Sarwar. I am a practicing lawyer in the Supreme Court of Bangladesh. We heard from the panel and also from the inaugural session. We are running in a state, as already mentioned, that with the public money, a bank official called P.K. Haldar maintained 80 girlfriends. And just to mention another example, a VC, I come to the question, a VC, highly educated, having corruption allegations, alleged corruption allegations of 111 counts. 111 counts. My question to the panel, we hear a slogan that a role model of development. My question to the panel, can there be a real development? Can there be a sustainable development without rule of law and justice? Thank you very much.
Can there be a real development? Can there be a sustainable development without rule of law and justice?
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. That's a good question. We will come back to the answer. Let's take one more, two other questions. Let me over there, then I'll come back.
Two observations. Let me just be one statement that some of 50 years of segregation of Bangladesh has been somewhat tied up with 80 versions of some persons. I don't think Bangladesh is as much better regarding a process of life. The question that I have, one is it seems that from reading your lines is when the middle group increases in large number, usually that is the case, the pressure or the demand for good governance increases. So in Bangladesh's case, we have seen that growth is really there, but
the pressure or the demand for good governance increases. So in Bangladesh's case, we have seen growth is there, but as you have also pointed out, good governance is not reflected equally in growth. So is the only need for good governance in Bangladesh and the other parts of the Southeast Asia is that growth stalls and then the painful moment can reoccur. So
Let's stick to
is
one. Let's see
continuous
what.
growth in itself a
Assalamu
barrier
alaikum.
towards implementing
My name is
reforms
Dr.
for good
Rubina
governance?
Menchuri.
And first,
I am
one
an
more.
R&D expert.
Let's stick to one.
My question, in 50 years, we developed or we have gone back to 73 years. Before 73 years,
In 50 years,
there was Pakistanis, they were not
or
recruiting
we
us.
had gone back to
But
73 years.
after 50 years of
Before
evolution,
73 years,
now, if I am going to
they were not
be recruited in army or police or any government job,
to the question.
my question is coming.
Now,
The DGFI and SI and other agents
recruited in army,
going there and they are taking the history of the family.
my question is
Even if my son is going, my sister's house, what my sister's husband doing, all these things are taking as I'm in the
my
PNP.
son is going,
It doesn't mean in future the PNP's sons, daughters, they would not work in government job. This is my question. Thank you.
And let's go here, if you want to sort of read out
daughters,
let me start with the one question was the question about is growth barrier to governance.
Two questions are related. First one was, can there be sustainable development without rule of law? As I have mentioned during my discussion that there is no evidence as such that how they are interconnected. There is no direct causal relationship. However, when you talk about sustainability, that includes many dimensions. So, to my understanding, I don't think that sustainable development, as per se, development is much bigger concept than growth. So, when you talk about development, it is much bigger, larger. It encompasses many other indicators which are welfare enhancing. So, without rule of law, without governance, there is not sustainable development is not possible. The other question, the pressure from the whether growth is a barrier for governance. You see, so far, yes, we have. I think sometimes we have some amount of complacency that we are progressing, despite whatever happens. We can keep a blind eye to those. However, the history of many countries, or if you look at the history of capitalism, at the beginning, there are what is called initial accumulation. Capitalism developed through initial accumulation, which means that initial accumulation, how does it happen? Like bribery, through corruption and all these. So I think there are also tendency in many countries, not all countries will go through the same phases, but many countries go through the same phases, same ladder, so same road map. Now, I think that after a while, when you talk about a fair play or giving a level playing field, there will be a problem, even within the beneficiary. Because if I just mentioned that why the private sector is not investing, they don't see any future probably. Many of them, there's no incentive, there's no market incentive for them to invest because the field is not leveled for them, not everyone. While we see that over time, the number of businessmen in the parliament has increased so much, and they are the people who actually control or devise policies. And the other group who are outside the power periphery, they are not, benefited similarly as this. So there will be conflict even within the broader beneficiary. So the broader beneficiary group will become, smaller, will be divided into smaller ones. So the conflict will arise, and when this conflict will be there, I don't think that any society can, any economy can grow smoothly. So there will be change must happen at one point in time. I don't know when, but all the symptoms of other countries, if you can take examples, for example, Latin American countries, how they have, growth has been so unequal, and they're still struggling. So I think we should not be complacent. We should enjoy, celebrate the achievement, but we should be also work for consolidation and for retaining the progress what we have achieved so far. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. I will give you the opportunity to take one more question, gentleman over here, and then I will come back to the panel.
Thank you, sir. I'm Mata from Singapore Service. My first question is to Monica ma'am, is that since considering the political stability in Bangladesh and social status, do you think we are Bangladesh really in a position to talk about good governance, or the governance situation is not in the good hand? So I have a little another question to Pujara himself.
I think let's, I mean,
talk about good governance, the governance.
yeah, I just want to give an opportunity to Dr. to respond. I mean, we have a couple of observations and things. I mean, the big question, the main question that has come up is whether Bangladesh can actually be considered a role model for development with all its problems and all its corruptions, allegations of corruptions and the other problems. Dr. Ali, very, quickly, if you want to sort of respond, and then I will go to Dr.
If I have understood the question well, I mean, whether Bangladesh can be considered as a role model despite all these things, is that the question, Dr. Shah?
Yes. The main question is, considering all of the allegations that we have, about corruptions, about politicization and others, should we actually consider Bangladesh as a role model of the group?
The main question is, considering all of the allegations.
See, it depends on the perspective, whether you want to be a role model of what. Having what we have discussed, Amida has already brought in, and yes, Bangladesh is making progress in terms of the growth, but this growth has been so lopsided, and the disparity has increased. So, if you are considering a part of it, that growth has been achieved despite bad governance, is it the role model? Is it the pathway? This is it replicable? I don't think it's replicable. Role model has to be replicable. I don't think it's replicable. Hence, for me, the perspective is whether it is inclusive. Whether you are talking about growth, economic growth, or you are talking about the political system. The non-inclusive part, with the lack of institutions, where partyarchy has become practically the modus operandi. And then we have this new patrimonial thing. That means the resources, state resources are being used for patronage and network. All these things coming together, I don't see that can be a replicable model for anybody. Even for Bangladesh, going forward, Bangladesh should take a very clear look at that whether this is a sustainable, the corruption, the neo-patrimonial networking, and this red city, is it a model that Bangladesh should pursue? Besides that, if we go back to the fundamental question, was that the promise of 1971? That this is the kind of Bangladesh we would aspire and establish? I don't think so.
Thank you. We are actually out of time, but I will just want to
many of you know that Professor Bhattacharya wrote a book, Development as Freedom. So the goal of development and means of development is freedom. Not only you living better, your basic needs are met, but also better freedom. So, and most importantly, human being cannot live better, and we need freedom. And just think about it, all of us taken to this, the abandoned central jail, and kept there confined, and all our needs are met, but you cannot communicate with anybody outside. How long will you be able to live there? So the way things are going, it will not sustain. And also our minister addressing the issues he referred to is clearly a case of governance failure. The UGC is not doing its job. Our chancellor is not doing his job. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Our chancellor is not doing their job. So the system is not working. Laws are not working. And the institutions are not working. And in every country, if you look at the history, in many countries there have been primitive accumulation, as Famida mentioned. But they needed rule of law to sustain them, to protect their ill-gotten wealth, and also invest. And contract needed to be enforced. And without that, whatever we have will not sustain. So we cannot, no way we can say that we have a role model.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. We are absolutely out of time. I mean, we are 5 minutes in the server. This has kind of been a gloomy morning, to be honest. We are hearing all of those pessimistic stories. Let me just end on a positive note. We have, despite everything, I just want to people we will do better in the future. We will solve all the problems. Thanks a lot, everyone. Thanks for your participation. Thanks a lot, Dr. Alias, for being here, and our participants. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Before moving on to the next segment, I would like to request our guest on stage to kindly stand up for a group photo.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. Before moving on to the next segment, I would like to request our guest on stage to kindly stand up for a group photo.
Good morning, everyone. It is an absolute honor to have with us Honorable Mr. Trajectories. He is a politician and incumbent member of Bangladesh Parliament. He is the Minister of Fisheries and Livestock, and also the former Minister of Housing and Public Works. Please join me in welcoming him on stage to share his thoughts with us. Our Honorable Minister Trajectories.
Please join me in welcoming him on stage to share his thoughts. Honorable Minister Trajectories.
কিছু চেঞ্জেস হবে ছবি নিয়ে আমাদের দুজন নতুন আসছে না বলেন ছবিগুলো বাইর করে রাখবো কোথায়
Distinguished guests, organizers, excellencies, commissioner and other respected members, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I am happy to attend here, and it's a great opportunity for me to say a few words, but many opportunity to hear very important discussion from the panel, but unfortunately I could not reach here in time because of some very, very important guests in Bangladesh. Being a cabinet member, I have some responsibilities there, and I have to go there further. We are now celebrating the birth century of Bangladesh Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, as well as 50 years of independence. Whole nation inside of Bangladesh and outside of Bangladesh, resulting to observe this great opportunity. So at the very beginning, I pay my great respect to our great leader, the founding father of Bangladesh, father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, and the 3 million martyrs. Very recently, due to COVID-19, so many people from different corners left us. Also, pay my respect to them.
Due to COVID-19, so many people from different corners left us.
Very respectable three panelists
Pay my respect to them.
and Professor Alias from abroad. Very valuable opinion. And also the opportunity to ask the question and reply.
And Dr. Aliria
From my position, I'd like to very humbly say
also the opportunity to ask the question and reply.
we achieved the independence in the year 1971. Since then till today, we achieved so many remarkable progress, but the path was not smooth. Democracy in different time destroyed through the unexpected people's intervention. I can very simply say military rulers. A long time, Bangladesh ruled by the people, those who have no authority to occupy the power.
A long time.
By using the power, by using the arms, they occupied the state power. And the democratic practice, very unfortunately, destroyed them. Even though the period of democratic government, tremendous development took place in Bangladesh. We can discuss, there can be a debate in respect of good governance, in respect of other many items. But as a whole, what I observe, extraordinary achievement in different sectors, nobody can deny. Definitely I cannot deny, I cannot say we have prevented all the corruptions from the process in government and outside. Barrister Saul mentioned about the vigilance, and I mentioned about the role of the Vice Chancellor. Fruitful word is there. So many corruptions during Agarism took place. They are beyond the readings of law. That is called establishment of the culture of impunity. Now nobody can say I am above the law. Everyone is within the readings of law.
Establishment of the culture of impunity.
Very simply we can say, very recently, that is in February 2021, UN committee recommended for graduation from these development countries status.
That is in February 2021.
Definitely we should appreciate
UN committee recommended for.
What part is negative, definitely we can discuss, we can criticize, but which are positive, that should be appreciated.
Definitely we should appreciate.
Economy of Bangladesh.
What part is
as per the statistical report of World Bank,
but which are the
we are in the second largest position in South Asia and
economy of Bangladesh.
14th largest in the whole world.
Report of World Bank.
As per the statistical strong report by the famous organization, within 2034, Bangladesh will be a country of 25th largest economy.
By the famous
This
organization,
achievement
within
we cannot deny.
2034, Bangladesh will be a
We
country
can compare
of
the study
25 largest.
about the development of neighboring countries, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Pakistan, India.
We can compare it
If we look forward
about the
comparative study
neighboring countries,
with India, Sri Lanka, Nepal and
Pakistan,
definitely we find the tremendous development
compared to
of our
the
country.
with India,
And
Sri Lanka, Nepal,
that has been possible due to good rulings by the government.
tremendous development.
I am not taking the all credits by the present government.
That has been possible.
Many government contributions there.
Rulings by
But in comparative study,
I am not taking the all credit by the
simply
present.
some remarkable
many government
But
contributed.
life expectancy increased from
But in comparative
67
study,
to 73 years. It has
if
not
it
come
is
automatically.
remarkable,
Adult literacy
life
from
expectancy
58 to
increased from 67
75%.
to 73 years.
Poverty
It has
incidence
not come automatically.
miracle changed.
Adult literacy
Nobody can deny
58 to
it.
75%.
Nobody can deny in the whole
Poverty
world.
incidence
So far I have searched.
miraculously changed.
No government can give the opportunity to provide accommodation, that is house, to the
Nobody
homeless
can deny
people.
in the whole world.
It is
So far I have seen.
practically
No government can take
an exemplary
the opportunity to
decision
provide
of the present
accommodation and
government
house to the homeless people.
for 9 lakhs people,
It is
arranging their
practically
accommodation, not only
and
temporary
exemplary
accommodation, with home
decision of
and
the
land,
present
with the
government
registration, making
for
them
9 lakh
owner
people,
at the cost of the
arranging
government.
their
In the meantime, we have given
accommodation, not only
70,000
temporary
houses
accommodation,
to the
with
homeless
home
people.
and land, with the
In the whole
registration,
world, nobody can
making
find
them
in
owners
such a
at the cost of
program,
the government. In the
government
meantime, we have given
manage all the
70,000
people
house to the homeless
that
people.
nobody will be homeless in the
In
country.
the whole world, nobody can find in
Supreme
such
law of the
a
land,
program,
that is our
government manage
land,
all the people
our
that
constitution,
nobody will be homeless in the country.
Article 15, the fundamental needs.
Supreme law of the land, that is our
5 points are there.
our constitution.
The government are
Article
trying to
15,
fulfill all the needs
fundamental
because
needs.
the constitutional dictum should not be confined within
5
the
points are
writing. It must be practically
government
implemented to ensure the
trying to
right of
fulfill
the
all the
people.
needs because the
That we are doing.
constitutional
Now,
dictum
nobody is
should not be
dying
confined within
with
the
hunger.
writing.
Nobody
It
is
must be
without any
practically
dress.
implemented
Nobody
to ensure
is
the
dropping
right
from
of
the
the people.
educational institution
That we are
due
doing.
to
Now,
want of
nobody is
money or
dying with
fail
hunger.
to able to pay the
Nobody
money.
is without any
At
dress.
the
Nobody
very
is dropping
first
from
day
the
of
educational
year,
institution
we are
due to want of
distributing books
money
amongst
or
the
they are able
students,
to pay the
the
money.
free of cost.
At the
And the education
very first day of the year,
up to a level
we are
totally
distributing
without any
books amongst the students
payment by the
free of
students.
cost. And the education
More than
up to
27,000
level totally
schools,
without any
including primary and
payment by
secondary
the
schools,
students.
have been nationalized.
More
And
than
the service of the
27,000
teachers have been nationalized.
including primary and secondary
This shows up
have been
miracle
nationalized.
development
And the
in the
service of
process.
the teacher
Definitely, we can
have been
appreciate.
nationalized.
At the time of observing
This sort of
our 15 years of
miracle development
independence.
in the process,
In
definitely
the
we can
major development program
at
of
the
our
time
community
of
development
observing our
in
15 years of
2008,
independence.
our word
In
was
the major
Din
development
Badole
program
Shon,
of Awami League government
changing the days.
in 2008,
Millennium Development Goals of UN.
our word was
Vision
Din
2021, middle income
changing the
country.
days.
6 and 7 5 years
Millennium
plan.
Development
Last
Goals of
8 5 years plan.
Vision
Last
2021,
perspective plan.
middle income
Vision 2041, heavy prosperous
6
and
and 7
developed
5 years
country.
plan. Last 8 5
Delta
years.
plan on top,
First perspective plan.
2021.
Vision
We
2021,
inherited a
very
very
prosperous and
fragile
developed
economy going to form government following a
Delta
landslide
plan
victory in the year of 2008.
2021. We inherited a very
Economic development
going to form government following a
in 50 years
landslide
at a
in the year
glance.
of 2008.
In 1970, independence.
Economic development
In 1970,
50 years
it
at a
depends on
glance.
GDP, was only 9 billion US dollars.
Independence.
Now, the GDP,
In 1970,
302.57
was
billion
only
US
9
dollars.
billion US dollar.
These are the development,
Now,
and this statistical report is not business. Documentary evidence are there. After independence, per capita income was $129. Now, per capita income is 2,064 US dollars. In such a way, I can mention specifically time is very short. How the progress took place. Poverty, once its number was unaccountable given everywhere. Now in the capital city and outside, if really assess and study, you will find the people are not standing in that position.
everywhere. Now in the capital city and
Radical change have
outside,
been taken.
if really assess and study, you will find
15th largest
the people
employer
are not
in the
standing in
solar
that
power
position.
sector in the world, Bangladesh position is 15.
Radical change have been taken.
Solar power sector now at
15 largest
even
employer
remote
in the solar
area,
power sector in the
government
world,
provided
Bangladesh position is
that
15.
extended the development of the country.
Solar power sector
Even
now
if
at
infrastructural development
remote
in
areas,
nation,
government provided
there are so many, I need to mention very few
development of the
ones.
country.
By investing our own resource, the Cosma Bridge, metro rail, elevated expressway, Rupur nuclear power plant, and many others. This shows the development and miracle development of the country. Industrial development, if you are to mention, second largest global apparel producer, Bangladesh. 85% of the country's export earning from this sector. Particularly now I am responsible with the Ministry of Fisheries and Livestock. In the production of fish, milk, eggs, and livestock, Bangladesh closed, even in some points, India and Indonesia. In the sweet water fish, our position is second. In the Hilsha fish, our position is one. And in other sector, we are standing on 5. We are exporting fish, egg, milk, and meat. And through those, we are earning lot of foreign currencies in Bangladesh. But once it was beyond thinking even. Due to good management and policy and positive investment by the government, we achieved this success. In education, I think all of we are aware the development here. Now nobody can say, I have no money, that is why I am not able to send my child to the school. Nowhere in infrastructure and other support can be said due to on top of that, the education process have been hampered. Not only that, we are giving a scholarship, we are giving mid-time meal, not only book, not only free education, giving a scholarship, giving meal. So no, not a single student can be dropped from the process of education. This development is miracle development in the Bangladesh. If we can say the digital development in Bangladesh, all of we are here, very responsible political leaders are also here. Once we have been given the opportunity to take the scope of cyber connection without any payment. But due to wrong policy or misconception, we could not receive it, saying that our information will be leaked. Now we are paying, and the Bangladesh is practically digital Bangladesh. Professor Alivias connected here, we are participating with him. E-commerce, e-banking, e-education, e-book, e-booking, e-health, e-filing, e-mutation, e-record, e-paper, e-tenders process everywhere. This miracle development sometime crossing the outside that is neighboring many other countries. In the health sector, it is the first time in Bangladesh we have established one more medical university, and we have planned to establish medical college in each and every district level. And we have re-established community medical center in each and every union in Bangladesh. In foreign remittance, we have made remarkable progress compared with other neighboring countries, even some other countries in South Asia. In disaster management, recently, Bulbul and Amphan, we properly managed and we have established our ability to deal with natural disaster and self-sufficiency. We have set our Bangladesh satellite, Bangladesh, like a country. Somebody was astonished that it would not be possible, but practically it is possible. And finishing. Culture of impunity, the trial of war criminals, self-confessed killer of Bangabandhu, and corrupted people. Now we are running on rules of law. Nobody can say we are above the law. Democratic process, constitutional process, handing over the power through the elected government to elected other government. But it was seriously hampered due to intervention of the autocratic military rulers. Now Bangladesh is running through its constitutional process. There may be debate about the corruption. We are trying. That is why the PK Haldara and others are in the process. So many political leaders, those who are influential, they are thinking that we belong politics, nobody can try us. They have been tried. In such a way, let all of us come forward. We have to make sure the dream of our father of nation and dream of our martyrs. Thank you very much. Lot of thanks to all of you. Joy Bangla, Joy Bangabandhu, long live Bangladesh.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for your valuable words. Before moving forward, we'd like to mention Honorable Minister Mohammad Tajul Islam, Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, who will be joining us after lunch. Moving on to our next segment. Our next segment is Speak Talks on Re-Exploring Bangladesh for the New World Order, and the speakers for this segment are His Excellency Ito Naoki, Japanese Ambassador to Bangladesh, His Excellency Mustafa Usman Turan, Turkish Ambassador to Bangladesh, and Mr. Sudipto Mukherjee, Resident Representative, UNDP Bangladesh. Now, I'd like to request His Excellency Ito Naoki, Japanese Ambassador to Bangladesh, to please come up to the podium to share his thoughts with us.
Thank you very much. So, I'm so delighted to have this opportunity to speak before such distinguished audience this morning. I was not quite sure about the format of this session, whether we are going to do panel discussion or individual remarks from the podium, but it seems that we are going to do that from this podium individually. So probably there will be no opportunities to do interactions from the audience, which is a little bit unfortunate. But I will try to share my views from this rather high place. So I think about months ago, we had the opportunity to attend such a wonderful gathering hosted by Mr. Jibu Rahman. Probably that was one of the first social gatherings which took place in the city of Dhaka during this COVID period. But actually, all of us who are speaking in this particular session, so Turkish Ambassador, His Excellency Mr. Mustafa Usman Turan, also the head of UNDP, Mr. Sudipto Mukherjee. So all of us are attending this wonderful gathering of Jiru. So Bangladesh is a country of such a wonderful hospitality, But now I realize that there is no free dinner in this country. So I had a chance to attend this ceremony, the celebration at the Parade Square, 17th, about 2 days ago or 3 days ago already. That was the start of this twin celebration of the country to celebrate the hundreds, the birth centenary of the father of the nation, Bangabandhu, as well as the 50th anniversary of the independence of Bangladesh. So, first of all, I really would like to extend my heartfelt congratulations to those occasions, this 10-day long celebration, which I found by attending the very first day of the celebration, a very, very wonderful and significant occasion, a 10-day occasion of celebration for Bangladesh. And Japanese ambassador, Japanese Prime Minister, Mr. Suga, sent a video message to this opening day of 10-day celebration. So basically he talked about 3 things with the congratulatory message of his. First one is the visit of Bangabandhu to Japan in 1973. Second one was how Japan has helped Bangladesh to make such a wonderful economic development, including infrastructure building cooperation, as well as Big B initiative. And third one was the cooperation which we hope to achieve with Bangladesh in realizing free and open Indo-Pacific. So those are the 3 elements Japanese Prime Minister wanted to communicate by sending congratulatory message to that occasion. So I will talk a little bit about each one of those 3 elements. First one is Bangabandhu's visit to Japan in October 1973. That was a very, very obviously important visit by the first leader of the nation of this country. So that really opened up bilateral cooperation, and that really put the founding stone of a wonderful bilateral partnership and cooperation between the 2 countries, which has reached thus far. So Japan has been the largest bilateral development partner, and I would say Japan is the longest bilateral development partner. So after this visit by Bangabandhu, we really started to engage with the development of Bangladesh, including to fulfill his dream, which was to do this bridge building over Jamna. So now we are engaged with this Bangabandhu railway bridge construction. The work started late last year. So together with Bangabandhu, together with successive governments, we have been engaged with this country to cooperate and collaborate for the purpose of development, sound, healthy, as well as rapid development of this country. So Bangabandhu said he considered Japan as the development of Japan as a model for Bangladesh. So earlier there was a discussion whether Bangladesh can be a role model for development or not. So I do really hope that Bangladesh will be the model of development for other nations in the world, modeling Japan's development experiences. Certainly that's my hope. And second element Japanese Prime Minister talked about is Japan's support for Bangladesh's effort. So I covered a little bit about that, but now we are really focusing on this cooperation on BIPB, Bay of Bengal Industrial Growth Belt Initiative, which was agreed upon and launched by the 2 prime ministers back in 2014, so 7 years ago. The 2 prime ministers exchanged their visits and launched this big initiative. So idea is to develop infrastructure, quality infrastructure along this industrial corridor between Dhaka, Chittagong, and Cox's Bazar. Now we are doing projects like Dhaka Metro or airport extension, Terminal 3 in Dhaka, as well as Matabali deep sea port construction project. I think these are the very, very important projects. So, and most likely by the end of this year, we will do partial opening of Line 6 of Dhaka MRT. And then airport, either in 2023 or 2024, you will see the opening of a new Terminal 3 and Matabali Deep Sea Port 2024. Almost every year from now on, you will see the completion of those mega quality infrastructure projects, as well as their commencement. So when it's complete and when it's start operating, I would say that these will be the symbols of quality infrastructure of this country. Surely that will change the face of infrastructure of this country. And we are so proud that Japan has been and will be part of those infrastructure development projects. And third element, my Prime Minister mentioned during his congratulatory message is this concept of free and open Indo-Pacific. He underscored the importance of promoting this free and open order based on the rule of law and strengthened cooperation in Indo-Pacific. We would say this is a common vision of peace, stability, and prosperity. And I'm sure that Bangladesh, being the country of democratic institution and democratic development under rule of law, will have a larger room for cooperation in realizing this concept of free and open Indo-Pacific. On 12th of March, there was a leaders meeting among four countries, namely Japan, United States, India, as well as Australia. Those are the four countries which subscribe themselves to the idea of free and open Indo-Pacific. So that was the first leaders meeting among four countries. Underscore the importance of this international free and open international order based on the rule of law. And they also emphasize the importance of advancing practical and functional cooperation with those countries in the region and in Indo-Pacific. So practical functional cooperation in those areas like quality infrastructure development, humanitarian assistance, disaster prevention, or anti-terrorism activities, as well as maritime safety and security. I'm sure that we will be able to find much larger rooms of cooperation in realizing this common vision of free and open Indo-Pacific. In concluding my remarks, I just want to share my expectation and hope for the future of Bangladesh. Yes, many people talked about this graduation from LDC. So we would really hope that Bangladesh becoming a developing nation, middle income nation, the country will play more prominent role, more proactive role in regional space as well as on global space. So I think climate change could be a case in point. Now government is trying to do this new master plan of energy and power. Yes, it's important to address the issue of development through master plan, but at the same time, these people need to address a very, very important issue of climate change. So those 10 days celebration is a really wonderful opportunity that Dhaka is the center of regional diplomacy. Dhaka is a center of
এটা শেষ করতে পারবো না
regional
কি দিতে এটা বাইক
development.
পাইলেইছে
So I think this is a wonderful example.
আমি পাবো
On the basis of what Bangladesh has achieved over the last 50 years, now you're playing more prominent role, more proactive role on regional development, regional integration, as well as on global issues. Certainly, this is something I really would like to see Bangladesh play in the future. So, lastly, I just want to talk a little bit about the economic issue. Yes, it's really important to see some of the reforms on the economic front, like one of the speaker said earlier. Earlier this week, in this ballroom, JICA signed MOU on miniaturized special economic zones development. But even for this special economic zone, important thing is to see good deliverables, namely actual investment coming from overseas, as well as from domestic private sector. So what I emphasize there is that you really need to have the best possible environment as the special economic zone. You have to compete with other economic zones in Asia. So still there's a room for providing a good political policy environment as well as providing better investment incentives.
এই প্রদীপটা থেকে নিয়ে নাও এই আসাম প্রদীপটা থেকে লিঙ্কটা নিয়ে নাও
Still, I'm playing my role here. So please, just smile at me. That's it. So I'll finish it in 20 seconds. So, but I really hope that you play important initiatives so that companies' incentive, companies' investment will be coming in actual terms. But there are rooms for cooperation, collaboration in terms of regulatory reform, in terms of improving the business environment, in terms of increasing investment climate. So I hope I will be able to continue to work to that end for the sustainable, inclusive, and rapid growth of this country. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your wonderful speeches, Excellency. Now, the next speaker is Excellency Mustafa Osman Turan, Turkish Ambassador to Bangladesh. I request you to please come to the podium and share your thoughts.
He's on the podium right
The Turkish one.
Thank you very much. It's been a great pleasure to listen to the conversations since the morning. So I would like to really thank Center for Governance Studies Chairman Dr. Manjur Ahmed Chowdhury and my good friend Zidur Rahman, Executive Director. Whenever I attend Center for Governance Studies events, I am really very pleased because of the fact that we're all able to listen to various different views. So it's not just one perspective, but quite a number of perspectives coming together and providing us the big picture. So I am particularly grateful for that nature of this event too. So we are asked to speak about re-exploring Bangladesh for the New World Order. And I will try to do so within the limits of my time. It's an important topic, and I will try to also benefit from the conversation that we listened this morning. And also I will also argue that the image of a country is very important indeed. And I think what Bangladesh, a country like Bangladesh, which made a huge progress within the period of 50 years, is extremely important to rebrand the image of the country. Why? Because when you rebrand your country's image in accordance with the progress that you achieved, it affects your trade, it affects your tourism, it affects whether the talented people, your citizens, will remain in your country or will go out of your country, or whether you can attract talented people from other countries. It affects the influence of the foreign policy. It affects your soft power. So after all, the image of a country is extremely important. I know this from my own country also. There have been, and there are still, quite a number of prejudices against Turkey and our history and culture and whatnot. But we are overcoming this by incorporating the progress that we make into the rebranded image of our country in every field, including the economy, the science, technology, defense industry, in every field, education, culture. So I think when we look at Bangladesh, we all know that we all know about this recent article written in the New York Times, which was not a sarcastic article. It was registering a certain progress that was achieved. And it was not also sarcastic to suggest that the poverty alleviation, especially for children in Bangladesh, could be an example for the United States. It was written by someone who really knew what he was writing. So I think I really like what the minister said when he said, this is not just us. It was the success of everyone, every government that was involved since the independence. So I think everyone should take credit of this progress. And there are ripple effects. It's not just in New York Times. In my country, just recently, a very prominent think tank called TEPA's president, in one of our most popular newspapers wrote an article titled "How Bangladesh Proved Kissinger Wrong." And yes, Bangladesh proved Kissinger wrong. From the bottomless basket to now we are debating whether the economic model, the development model that Bangladesh put forward can be a model for the rest of the world. Yes, it can. And I'll tell you why. Because some speakers talked about the problems that the country faces, the challenges. We are all changing. Various kind of challenges in our own countries. So does Bangladesh. That doesn't prevent us from recognizing what we were able to achieve. And obviously there is a strong correlation between, when you look at the periods in which Bangladesh has grown, it correlates with the period in which democracy in Bangladesh was progressing as well. And that link needs to be remembered, because when democracy flourishes, citizens are mobilized because they think they can have a better future if they work hard, if they participate not only in the economy but also in the decision making. Then the whole, the totality of the human resources can be mobilized. But if a certain segment of society is upset, is not included in the system, then of course it's a pity, because then the potential of the country cannot be fulfilled. So I think that's why the democratic process is really important, and I agree with those who argued for the importance of rule of law, independence of judiciary, and corruption. And yes, we should not hide these issues just to preserve the image of our countries. Because, you know, when you hide, try to hide, no one can really hide any of these issues. But if we try to hide any of the sort of issues that we are facing, that doesn't really improve the image of our country. It becomes a propaganda, obviously. So the best way to rebrand a country is really to acknowledge the progress that we achieve, but also acknowledge the challenges that we face and the efforts that we put into addressing those challenges. I think that's what Bangladesh is doing. And the current government is very sincere, I believe, in acknowledging the progress, but also trying to address the challenges. Bangladesh's image can be rebranded with many of its very competitive qualities. For example, let's take foreign policy. The friendship to all, malice to none. This is a policy that really makes Bangladesh a country which spreads peace and stability, not only in its own region, but also to the whole world. I think the contributions Bangladesh has been making to the UN peacekeeping forces is not well recognized. I think that one should be really underlined in many different ways when rebranding Bangladesh. I think the secular nature of governance in Bangladesh is not very well known either across the world. I think for a Muslim country, 90% of its population has secularism, and the fact that secular governance is implemented is an important element for rebranding a Muslim country in the world, because there is a problem with the image of Islam too. It's true for my own country too. It's not because of Islam, but it's because of the stigmas attached, because of some of the lunatic terrorist attacks around the world, which somehow tarnished the image of Islam. So Bangladesh is a resilient country, and its people is well known for their resilience. It's another element that needs to be put into rebranding Bangladesh. I can talk a lot about this, but I've been warned to finish, so I will finish in 1 minute. So, literature, Tagore, Ghazi Nazrul Islam, their philosophy, their contributions to humanity need to be incorporated in rebranding Bangladesh. I won't talk about the economic success. Some people call it miracle. But yes, that needs to be really highlighted. You know, how this was possible, and how Bangladesh can turn into a manufacturing hub in its own region. And yes, it's possible. Because I see it from the private sector in Turkey, the interest that they have. You know, I've been receiving calls every day since I came here, and people want to know more, and they will know more if Bangladesh is rebranded according to its own well-deserved success. So I also very much liked what Dr. Ali Riyaz said. Future is made today, and by being stuck in the past, we cannot really move forward. So I guess what we need to do is really to settle our accounts with the past in whatever democratic way we will do, and look to the future, because the future will be different, much different than yesterday, and also much different than today. And we have to be prepared for it. And when a country is rebranded, obviously it should also be rebranded together with its partners. Because when a country's image is good, that country has a lot of partners. And Turkey has always been very close to Bangladesh and will remain so in the future. And we are extremely excited to see the opportunities, knowing the challenges, both in terms of our political ties, but also, more importantly, in terms of the welfare of our people. I think the economic, trade, and investment opportunities have never been so significant, not only between Turkey and Bangladesh, but also Bangladesh and the rest of the world. If Bangladesh is rebranded in the right way, it will certainly take its deserved position, not only in its region, but also in the whole world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. Now, the next speaker, Mr. Sudipto Mukherjee, Resident Representative, UNDP Bangladesh. I'd like to welcome you to please come up to the podium to share your thoughts with us.
Good afternoon, everybody. Let me start by actually again conveying many congratulations for multiple reasons. The birth centenary of the father of the nation, the 50 years of progress, impressive progress. And of course, not to mention the fact that earlier this year, the UN's Committee for Development Policy actually finally gave the clearance for Bangladesh's imminent graduation in 2026. All great achievements. In fact, if you look at the left side, these are all the nice things which has happened in Bangladesh, which many of the speakers alluded to. But I have actually left another side, which is something that we need to worry about a bit. I want to pick up on Mustafa's message about acknowledging progress, but also acknowledging challenges. So what I will focus on is, because a lot of people will talk about all the progress that Bangladesh has made, but I will at least pick up a few issues that I think we need to be careful as we look forward. Next slide, please. Now, UNDP is here, been here for nearly 50 years. In fact, right from the beginning, but we've been in some form in Bangladesh. And what I will show in my next slide is that how the partnership with Bangladesh has actually changed over the years, essentially responding to a changing Bangladesh. Can we go to the next slide, please? So if you really look at when we started, most of the effort was on post-conflict rehabilitation, in helping you respond to disasters and prepare for disasters. From 80 to 90, it was support infrastructure and economic development. From 1990 to 2000, it was supporting democracy. and disaster management was continued. Then 2000 to 2015 was the work on the Millennium Development Goals, and we know that Bangladesh, at least on the 6 major goals, except one particular goal on environment, is considered to be a poster child. And then, of course, right now, it's about SDGs and sustainable graduation. Now, this is all good, but at the same time, can you go to the next slide, please? We live in what is popularly known as VUCA world, volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world. And in that world, we have to remember a few additional things that is happening. Bolshemo Barche. And I'm sure a lot of people over the last few days have spoken about it. We are seeing rapid urbanization, which is natural, but urbanization which is unplanned at the same time. We are in the age of Anthropocene. Anthropocene is the age of humans, where human beings have themselves become their existential threat. আমাদের মানব সমাজই আমাদের মানবিক সভ্যতার অস্তিত্বের ঝুঁকি হয়ে দাঁড়িয়েছে, and that's something that we need to worry about. COVID has actually accelerated the advent of artificial intelligence, which is in some ways very good. In some ways, it has also left us underprepared. In fact, everybody is now talking about the digital divide which is occurring, and which is something that we seriously need to address. COVID-19 has magnified how fragmented the world is. At the same time, it has underscored the need for global cooperation for a shared future, which Kofi Annan famously described as a world of passportless problems. Climate change, public health, dengue, chikungunya, COVID, cross-border terrorism. It cannot be dealt by countries alone. In fact, SDGs are the first ever global development agenda, which reminds everybody that you are not just a native of your own country, but you are a citizen of the planet, and you have planetary responsibilities. And then, of course, every night I go to bed and wake up the next morning and Bangladesh has changed. In fact, Bangladesh's changes, I've been here for 4 years now, has been an amazing pace of change. Good, bad, that's a different thing. But the fact is that you have a very rapidly changing Bangladesh, and that rapidly changing Bangladesh, everybody has to be extremely nimble in our efforts to make sure that we're all in sync with these changes and able to support it better. Now, what are the two new realities? And I'm going to pick up on two things. One is, what does development do in the age of Anthropocene? What do we need to do better? And the second one, is it enough to graduate from LDC from an economic perspective? Or আমাদের চিন্তাধারা change করতে হবে, mindset change করতে হবে to become a graduate society. And I remember this, I still remember at a time in my country where civil aviation, domestic civil aviation suddenly opened up to the private sector. All of a sudden there were 40-50 airlines, massive competition. The price of an airline ticket was almost comparable to what you would pay for a train journey, and everybody was flying. And I still remember at that time, I actually wrote an article, an opinion piece on something called airline etiquette. Because people could afford the ticket, but they did not know how to behave inside an aircraft or at an airport. And I say this with a certain degree of, because I feel that it's not enough for an economy to graduate until everybody thinks middle income. And I think we need to make a civic investment so that people's awareness that they are no longer the least developed, they are a modern nation, they are a progressive nation, has to happen. Next slide, please. Now, there are 3-4 things I just picked up. I didn't want to trade on anything which is remotely political. But one is seizing the opportunity for Bangladesh to assume global leadership in climate change and environmental sustainability. And I'm picking up on the brown bits of the environment. Because everybody will talk about climate change. But I'm talking about the fact that just to give you figures, marine plastic pollution has increased tenfold since 1980. And it has actually made a terrible impact on biodiversity. There is an opportunity as Bangladesh grows, and we can show you, and I've seen a lot of literature there, that the new generations of young people in the countries that Bangladesh hopes to invest and export things to will be particular about how things are made. Are they made in environmental sustainable ways? Are they made in clean and green ways? So there is the need for ushering in green and clean business climate to attain Bangladesh's aspiration for more trade and investment. Unless you do that, this growth will not be sustainable. And then, of course, we have to remain vigilant because the uncertainty that will come in a post-COVID global order will bring both challenges and opportunities for which we need to prepare for the future. We need to be prepared, we need to foresight, we need to imagine what is going to happen in the future and be ready and be ahead of the curve. Next slide, please. Now, I just want to pick about 3-4 things. I think there is the need to rein in inequality. Until inequality is reined in, some amount of inequality will remain, but unless inequality is reined in, Sonar Bangla is not going to happen. There is a very short window, and I'm mentioning this because I'm always reminded by my Japanese colleague, the head of UNICEF, who looks at these figures, that while Bangladesh does have a demographic dividend, it has a number of young people, but there is a very short window when you will have that demographic dividend. In another few years, Bangladesh will age more rapidly than Japan. So you have to invest in the youth right now. In fact, when I even look at the cabinet in Bangladesh, I see very few young faces. That needs to change. Bring in more young people. And not to mention the fact that when you have a society that is going to be very rapidly aging in sometime very soon in the future, you will have to have the means to depend on a fewer people and still be able to have a prosperous enough society. The last bit is that there is a goal 12. For the first time in the history of the development, there is a goal 12, which is about responsible production and consumption. And it's not for each one of us. I mentioned this, a Bangladeshi society with sustainable consumption and production lifestyle, not just for itself, but for a healthy planet. We are planetary citizens with planetary responsibilities, and the time to start is here and now. In fact, we are right now in the decade of action, and let me end with my administrator, Akhil Steiner, is saying a recent saying when he says that it is not about choosing between people and trees, between poverty or progress. It's about choosing to do things differently. And I think at the 50th year, at the time when you're celebrating, it's not just look at the past and celebrate your progress. Of course, you should do that. But this is the time to take on the world much boldly, pick up bold reforms that you can do it. And just like Mustafa said, I also want to see a much better branded Bangladesh, a brand Bangladesh which is also about clean production, about more equal society, and about a country which is a leader when it comes to taking care of the environment. Because the whole idea that you can grow now and clean later is not going to happen. Thank you very much for giving me the lecture. সবাই সুস্থ থাকবেন, ভালো থাকবেন।
Thank you so much, His Excellency Ito Nauki, His Excellency Mustafa Usman Turan, and Mr. Sudipta Mukherjee for sharing your wise thoughts and words with us. Now, we move to our next session, transition towards the developing nation. So, to moderate this session, I request Mr. Mamun Rashid, economic analyst, entrepreneur, and senior partner of PwC Bangladesh, to come on the stage along with honorable speakers of the session, Mr. Abdul Hai Sarkar, Chairman, Dhaka Bank Limited, Mr. Mezbauddin, Chief Marketing Officer, Fair Group,
and Mr. Abdullahi Raki, former director, DGM. Please come on stage.
Sure.
the session. আমি হচ্ছে পারফেক্ট কাপল দুজনের জায়গায় বেস্ট ইনভার্টেড কমাটো ট্রানজিশন টুয়ার্ডস দ্য ডেভেলপিং নেশন
Is it?
For the introduction time, let us begin. I'm very obliged to be invited here to Millennium. Okay? So I'm very obliged to be invited to this August gathering and more to so that yes, we are celebrating the national celebrating the 50 years of our independence from 1971 to 2021. So we of course give respect to all the sacrifices made by our freedom fighters, our founders, and of course the founding father of this nation, so where Mr. Sudipto Mukherjee has ended that yes, let's face the world. So while we are preparing ourselves to face the world, now 2021 onwards until 2026 at least, to delineate a charter or economic charter on how we restructure our economic behavior and commercial behavior post 2026, while this nation or the country becomes a developing country or starts its journey as a developing country. So that is our kind of analysis. And we have got a very distinguished panel here today, Mr. Abdullahi Sarkar, who is one of the early bird entrepreneurs of our country, educated from Dhaka University's Commerce Faculty. Also, Mr. Mesbauddin, Chief Marketing Officer from the Fair Group Fair Technology, and you will be knowing that yes, Fair Group is producing or assembling Samsung appliances in Bangladesh. It must be under Dhaka. And we also have one of the kind of a growth drivers of our country, export driver of our country, Mr. Abdullah Raki, a prominent businessman in Bangladesh, and he is also the former director of BGMEA. And also, I came to know from him today that he is also competing from again to form a more vibrant BGMEA in the coming BGMEA election from Sammilito Purishad. All the best to Mr. Abdullah Raki also. Ladies and gentlemen, in the year 2011, I had the privilege to run a project along with a leading university in the United States of America, 40 years of Bangladesh. And what made Bangladesh to stand at this stage in 2011, and what has contributed towards Bangladesh's growth along with that 40 years. And of course, during that research or project, while I was the lead consultant from Bangladesh, we did find out that, of course, the War of Liberation in 1971, some of the valiant freedom fighters, I can also see here today. So, War of Liberation, what made us to think independently, behave independently, and also delineate our future in togetherness along with the freedom fighters, war commanders, and of course, all the political leaders and the policy formulators of this country. Second was, incidentally, through that report, we found out the famine of 1974 and what made not only poor Bangladeshis from the rural Bangladesh to come down to Dhaka. Dhaka could not contain them, so they had to find their abode or workplace outside Bangladesh, in the Middle Eastern countries, some of the Far Eastern countries, and of course some of the European countries. The acronym of
non-resident Bangladeshis. To be more precise, these are the blue-collar workers working outside Bangladesh. And think of these 8.6 million workers working predominantly in Middle East, Far East, as well as some of the European countries. What would have been the pressure on the national economy or the domestic economy had there been additional 8.6 million people added to the 170 million people residing in Bangladesh? Third was, very importantly, some of the freedom fighter bureaucrats who fought for in 1971 for this country in the War of Liberation, and afterward they went outside Bangladesh, especially to the North American countries, to have their higher education. After coming back, they played a significant role, pivotal role in delineating the future of Bangladesh. And number four was independent or quasi-independent media. Media did play a significant role through that study done with the US University. We have found out that yes, whoever is owning those media, but the media workers, the esteemed journalists, always played the role in favor of the common people of this country, in favor of in identifying significantly violence are so pinching for the growth of Bangladesh. And fifth was, of course, the increasing number of women joining our workforce. So these were the five very fundamental findings that we have found out and identified through that research done in 2011. While we are now at 50 years of independence of Bangladesh, and more so talking today about what will happen to Bangladesh and how do we transition, how we ensure a smooth transition towards a developing nation post 2026. As I have mentioned already, my esteemed panel, that Mr. Abdullah Sarkar, so he is the chairman of Dhaka Bank Limited, he is also the chairman of Education, Science, Technology and Cultural Development Trust. And as I have mentioned that as the founder of the Kurbani Group, one of the pioneering textile group in Bangladesh, and who has also accepted that Mr. Sudipto Mukherjee was also focusing on the technology advancement and usage of technology like latest technology like data analytics, IoT, machine learning, deep learning, and all these things in ensuring smooth transition to a developing country and also to survive better in a more competitive country and in a more competitive world rather. So my question to Mr. Abdullah Sarkar would be that to share with us how is his organization both bank as well as more importantly the textile group is preparing to transition into a more competitive world and post 2026 that is the Bangladesh as a developing country. Mr. Abdullah Sarkar, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mahmood. First of all, I am grateful to the organizer. I invited you to speak few words in this gathering. I wish you a very good afternoon. Excellencies. In fact, things are looking on track progressing from the beginning. And all of us know that we are going to graduate. We graduated by 2024. Of course, our first period will be there. The UPA was in the University Cultural Organization has allowed to do more. And we have to start our program, developing program. We have to start the challenges from 2027 onward. But more than ability, in the new period, we have to prepare ourselves. We encounter the challenging situation. We are going to encounter. And to start with, I have to say that we have we talk about garments. As far as the garment is concerned, we have definitely much organized and developed and complied in those years. And already some people are already there. But still we have some weaknesses. We have been encountered to overcome the when we become family graduate. That is our infrastructure, our road handling capacities, the internal road networking, also cost of doing business in Bangladesh. At the same time, very constructive policy from the government will definitely help us to prepare ourselves fully to encounter the challenging situation we are going to. waiting rooms. And we're already in the path of taking that challenge. And government also quite alert and quite equipped and so that we are also preparing themselves to give us the right policy in circumstances. I'm sure we'll be able to encounter this situation. And one thing I need to mention here is the countries which are already graduated like Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, we have to compete with those people when we become fully graduated. And we have some traditional advantages like our people not very much optimistic towards lifestyle changes. Our people remain committed with minimum requirements. They are not like people of China and rest of the yeah, I thought our main challenge comes from the East Asia, Far East, like Vietnam. And Cambodia are not very challenging for us, but definitely Thailand, Malaysia, and this. So I'm sure that we'll be able to successfully encounter this situation which we have to encounter this their circumstances, of course. And as far as the country is concerned, we have a very strong backward system, and still we have got some weaknesses. And I'm sure this period of time we have right now, like from 2021 to 2024, we have more development in our backwards system, lands and economies. And I'm sure we will be prepared. I'm not at all concerned about that. And so right now, if you look at the list of the least developed countries in the world, who are those people? We will enjoy the WTO preferential trade facilities. Also, GSP Millennium Agreement. From America, it's nothing very good. They have no right there. But if I say that if I bring an example like say 2004 to 2005, and the America will draw the products for the facilities. Every people became very concerned about that. Now the export is going down, economic growth down. But finally, those years, that same year, our export growth in the US market about 13% more than normal. So I could have done this one. Because our people we have the working hands here, and that hands are quite developed. And I'm sure we'll be able to successfully encounter the situation which we are going to face in the years ahead.
Thank you so much, Mr. Abdullah Shokar. Time permitting, we will again come back to you and to discuss some issues like compliance in the garment sector, GSP Plus, and few other issues that might have been identified as challenges towards our graduation process. Now I go back to Mr. Mesbauddin, Chief Marketing Officer of Fair Group and Fair Technology. So obviously, after talking so much about technology and during the COVID time, we have seen how technology and the technology firms have been benefited out of managing this COVID type situation and the challenges. So how does he, and while we were charting out the issues with regard to the graduation process or the identifying the challenges towards our graduation process and what Mr. Mukherjee has ended with, that some of the challenges beyond the known challenges of growth and parity and other, or discrimination, or even cooperation, that yes, technology is going to play a significant role. And we have already seen that yes, how some of the women workers in the garments factories are reducing. In fact, we have done a study in Chittagong export processing zone, and we have seen how the she workers are reducing in that export processing zone. So now, because technology is coming into play its role, so now how do we survive in a more competitive world, more technology-driven world, and what is Bangladesh's preparation towards using and making best use of technology in the coming days, especially post 2026? Mr. Baldwin, please.
Thank you, Mohan sir. Thank you, the organizer. We are Fair Group. We actually manufacture Samsung electronics product, as well as we are going to manufacture the Hyundai car as well. So I would like to start with the challenges first. If you look into our exports, 85% is actually covered by garments units, and we don't have any alternatives where we can look for the new export opportunities. And that there we want to play a vital role about bringing in electronics and technology market in Bangladesh. Definitely, we talk about LDC to developing countries. As I was discussing, that today we are competing with Vietnam, competing with Indonesia, competing with India. None of these have LDC preference. So we are not in a difficult situation to say that there is a competitors who is having an LDC advantage. So we will have equal shares in the market to compete. Now, what we should do to improve ourselves in terms of our economy, in terms of our export? Definitely, efficiency is one of the big part. Productivity is a big part. Cost reduction in global market is a big part. But the most important part is the HR. We have seen that we have got a good garments worker who are doing extremely good for making sure our economic wheel are getting in process. But what we don't have is technology-driven workforces, and that's very important for us in the next journey in technology market. If we look into the global political scenario, China is having some difficulties in exporting products to US and other markets, where we can actually play the role to become the next source of production facility to give the products to the global market. So that is very, very important. So we need to put HR training or educational curriculum in focusing on technology, electronics kind of product. Because if I talk about Vietnam, the majority is exports are coming from garments and electronics product. A big chunk of the exports is coming from only Samsung factory in Vietnam. So that's actually played a very important role for us. The next important thing is how we actually, in these new migration, how we can use the technology into development or productivity increase. To be proud to say that if you look into the mobile phone, which 3 years or 4 years back was mostly imported from global market like China and Vietnam. Today we are having almost 85%
এটার
smartphone
পর তো
being
সেশনটা
produced in
শেষ হয়ে যাবে,
Bangladesh.
তারপর তো লাঞ্চ টাইম।
So that's
এই
a
যে
great
লাইভটা গেল,
thing
সেই
we have
লাইভটাকে
done.
সেশন 1 দিয়ে লিখে দিয়ে
How we
পরের
develop this
পোর্শনটাকে আমরা
HR,
সেশন 2
they are
বানাই দেবো,
actually developed through the
ফেসবুক বা
process.
ইউটিউবে।
So we have taken a little bit longer time.
লাইভের
So
টাইটেলটা
that was the basic structure we have started. Now we have to go beyond it and go create a backward linkage where we produce batteries, we produce chipsets, we produce LCDs and all this kind of things. Looking at similar things into refrigerators and air conditioners and televisions, where we can actually started producing all those technological products into Bangladesh. And for that, we need a good research team. We need a very strong HR portfolio where these workers can become an essentially better for us. This will also help for our HR or our labor forces to work abroad, where they can earn more money by having a strong understanding of technological, product manufacturing. So as I was saying that we have got almost 85% smartphone being produced in Bangladesh. Almost about 35% of Bangladeshis are now using smartphone. So these actually enable us to get the convergence of internet with our workforces in every household. So I believe that with the growing smartphone penetration in the market, we will be able to have a productivity enhancement program through digitalization, and that will also help us. So I think lastly I would want to say is first, definitely the almonds is one of the major export area, but we need to find new opportunities through pharmacy, medical products, as well as electronics and mobiles. We also have to develop our HR for a sustainable development for the next 10 years to 15 years time, so that after China, people should think about Bangladesh as a hub for manufacturing of technology and electronic products. And also we have, with the digitalization which is taking place, with a huge market, because we are 8th largest populated market globally, I think the domestic market will also play a vital role, and with the convergence of digitalization, we will be able to bring the productivity up. We'll be able to do the things better way, productivity, efficiency, right there, and that's how we should do it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mesbauddin. Time permitting, of course, we'll try to again come back to you on that, especially on the development of the human capital side for getting more prepared for a smooth transition to a developing country. Now, coming to Mr. Abdullah Rakib, a garments owner, garments trader, apparel trader, and also a BJP leader. So, remembering, taking the clue from 2000, if I'm not mistaken, 2008, I was privy to a US State Department, special US State Representative Office hearing on Bangladesh's possible quota-free, tax-free entry into the US market. So there I remember that yes, the US Deputy Trade Representative was in fact toning at us and asked our leader, the then president of the BGMEA, that yes, who are your competitors in marketing ready-made garments into Bangladesh, into United States of America? And we did talk about Indonesia, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, India, and of course Vietnam, Turkey, and few other countries. And then it was a she, and she very loudly told us, none of these countries are LDC. So Bangladesh is already competing with regard to exporting made in Bangladesh apparel into the market of United States of America. Bangladesh is already competing with all other countries who are not LDCs. So that is why, based on our background research on the craftsmanship of the Bangladeshi workers, we declined to consider duty-free, quota-free access of Bangladesh, made in Bangladesh apparel into United States of American market. So my humble question to Mr. Abdullah Rakib would be that yes, people are talking of post LDC graduation and post 2026 journey. How is our apparel entrepreneurs are preparing for that? While we have Mr. Mesbauddin has talked about the quality of the workers, and we have at the very outset also talked about the quality of human capital in Bangladesh and how to drive growth, productivity improvement, competitive environment, and adaptation of technology, and also shipping in the era of more competition, while people from European Union especially are emphasizing more on while we are talking of GSP plus, and they are emphasizing as the largest importing country or importing bloc in the world, European Union. They are increasingly talking of compliance standards, the work standards, and the work ethics we follow with regard to the apparel production in Bangladesh, with regard to manufacturing sector in Bangladesh. So Mr. Abdullah Rakib, if you could kindly focus on that, yes, well, people are increasingly talking of governance, compliance, and compliance to the work ethic, compliance to the work environment standards. How do we prepare ourselves to fight and compete in the post-2026 era? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mohammed. Assalamualaikum. I'm Abdullah Rakib, Managing Director. Well, I believe so there are two scenarios. One is LDC, one is COVID.
And of course, taking the entire industry into consideration, it was totally a people-driven initiative, and our resilient entrepreneurs could do whatever they have known. So with the change of the pattern coming business-wise, retail-wise, there are a lot of mind shift in terms of customers behavior, in terms of the retail concept, in terms of financing. There are a lot of challenges coming. So first of all, I would say that say talk about graduation and graduating in terms of all those parameters. I believe in terms of infrastructures, we have walked down the way, and by having according alliance initiative, we have seen that most of the facilities been already addressed and considered as a safest working place. And on top of that, our green revolution has added some mark on it, and I'm sure that now we can say we pride that out of 10 platinum LEED UHG certified factory, 7 is in Bangladesh. Of course, that's not enough. We have to be responsible for reduce, and recycle, like the way the pollutions and is going towards or in contrast to the SDG goals. But I would say that the industry, as the industry whole, for us as an industrialist or us as a factory owner, we are trying to do the adaptation for putting up with Industry 4, say Industrial Revolution and the transformations. We're talking about AI and IoT things into the flows. So, of course, those are the tools which, if we can achieve, that will help us to achieve the better efficiency. With the monitoring scheme, say in flows, previously we didn't have process. Now we are kind of planning to fix the process so that it's not just the person who there who is being good and who is being bad. It's about recognizing and rewarding a worker who is doing better and understanding the process skill of the contribution and acknowledging his contribution through ERP so that it's not being biased. So there are a lot of happenings into the floors which is kind of like preparing us to face the next generation business strategies. I believe the industry as a whole, association as a whole, we understand the need and the gap, and we are also trying to negotiate with the government how the government can support us in terms of financing all those technologies which can give us better efficiency on the floor, and of course make our logistic and make our infrastructure much efficient and better. Of course, with the dates coming with Matarbari port to get on live, we will have better lead time and we will have better efficiency. If the roads get better, Dhaka Chittagong highway get better efficiency, we will have lead time enhancement. But then again, the logistics, then again, our product diversity make also like there are holes to work on. And I believe the resilient workforce we have, if we can train them better, because at this point of time, the trainings are happening on a private level. When a worker coming to our door, we are training them with our own initiatives. Of course, PGMA have lot of 12 training centers. We are now promising that we have to upgrade these training centers, and we also want to have industry academic partnership with all the schools where we can train those mid-level entry workers. And it starts, we can actually come straight away and contribute from the day one. Because what we see, the gap is that they graduate from the universities are coming up, but there are less universities who are offering good courses with appropriate need. We all know that we import a lot of expertise, like about $4 billion for that. But if we understand the gap, if we can encourage infrastructure-wise, even if we can negotiate the dialogue between the government and all UGC versus all the universities, that they can enroll all those courses into universities which can give a proper graduate who can start contributing from the day one. And even within their course, they can come forward with an intern program between their education and come forward to work with the floor, which we can offer them internship. And they can come forward, and when they graduate, they know what they are doing. They know what are the gaps and what are the where the jobs are located, which in now filled by the expats. So we have to really work on, and I believe that is a challenge, but then again, that's an opportunity. Of course, for getting us graduated in terms of achieving and in terms of hitting all those parameters which will give us GSP plus, of course, there are conditions of workers, which I believe we are more or less there. But there are issues with trade diplomacies. I believe that in terms of having eligibility for GSP plus, we have to achieve 2 points. Number one is actually there because for European Union, I think we have to have the product wise one of the top export product, which is we are. But there are like we have to have this trade diplomacy between Brussels and Bangladesh that the threshold have to be moved on because right now that have to be within 12%, which is almost there. So if we were to grow export, if we talk about being say by next 5 years or possible years to hit 50 billion, we really need to work on the moving thresholds between 15%, which is kind of like not really almost hitting the mark. I believe by having our educational workforce in terms of like I will also agree with Ms. Bhavai that he mentioned about HR. There's a lot of things we should work on, like people given to process driven schemes. We are too much people driven right away in terms of R&D, even in terms of non-R&D. I see we have people who are dictating without recognizing the correct process. And even on the entrepreneurs, like when we started, we didn't know how the process should be, simplifying the process, optimizing the process, making on a lean initiative to improve the efficiency and the cost, because going forward, our challenge will be reducing cost. Going forward, living standard will grow, so we have to give them a better salary level. The expense will go up automatically. So how do we survive hitting the same price? Because customers won't be able to afford a better price because the economy going forward, because of COVID or because of strategy getting online, there are a lot of challenges and a lot of smaller competition. Say a big retailer will face competition with the smaller online people whose operating expense is much less. So they will have to have offer a better price. So we definitely have to work out how do we still lead and lead. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, because we started a little late, so the organizers have been very kind to grant us another 10 minutes time. So we would like to finish precisely within the next 10 minutes. And so I request all my esteemed candidates to be very precise in answering the questions. This is kind of a speed session that we came to know after coming here. So at this point in time, remembering with deep gratitude and respect, late Honorable Finance Minister Mr. Saifur Rahman, who had significant kind of contribution in delineating the economic pathways for this country, emerging trading nation Bangladesh, and who truly believed in the entrepreneurship of our Bangladesh private sector. So remembering him, and also we have heard our immediate past finance minister, Mr. A.M. Also that yes, let's face the world. Gradually, Bangladesh should have a plan, sequential plan to face the world, to behave in a more open and competitive world. So while now we are talking of our economic behavior and restructuring and refashioning our economic behavior post 2026, my question to Mr. Abdullah Sarkar again would be that yes, how is your plan and how do you think that Bangladesh can have a better position, more respectable position while trading in a more competitive world beyond 2026? Mr. Abdullah Sarkar.
Actually, if you talk of the banking sector, in private sector, you talk about banking. We have a lot of change in the banking services to the business community as well as to the general people. And also, everything now digitalized and also we use you have to be a facilitator to the world economy and India. we better ourselves, and already doing a job as per the requirements, but nothing is kind of with certificate and it is intermediate, so we have to improve a lot. To bring more innovation in the sector and services to the nation. And the post MVP or potential status, both industry as well as the financial sector also very
নাজিন ভাই কাইটে দেখে আবার নতুন করে দিব কাইটে দেখে নতুন করে দিব আবার ভাই হচ্ছে না তো না দিয়ে দিব
lot of private universities come up. The good technologies coming from states and other places, and they are getting and we are getting differently. In this building, they were getting a lot of aspects to take care of the job in the highly competitive situation. On the other hand, the support of the government is quite constructive. A lot of states government taking which are unexpected sometimes. Say for instance, they kept the factory open in during the pandemic situation. It was a very good decision that we are really encash the facilities that they have. Because all the young, no cases of no adverse cases of pandemic.
এত সময় পরে বলতেছে ইন্টারনেট নাই 5 মিনিট ধরে আমি কথা বলতেছি
So it's a good decision, and that's we are also getting very stronger also in this kind of situation. And both many expert of global and many expert global and local, they have been very specific about the when the pandemic started. They thought that Bangladesh was going to encounter a very crisis situation, economically as well as socially. Sadly, it didn't happen. That is proved false. So I am not at all pessimistic about the future. I was an optimistic person. I am always going to be strategy. I am sure what kind of challenge I have to get there. Thank you.
I request other lines in So my question to you is about the World Bank in 2008, the famous skill report, the single most important factor towards Bangladesh becoming more competitive in global marketplaces was identified skill. So how do you see our how do we synergize our skill development across this country, including technical skill?
Thank you. I think this is very, very important because I was saying that we have to have an alternative category of product which we can explore for export. We have to also create an alternative market for export. So apart from definitely EU and America, we can think about Asia as a market. We can think about China as a market. We can think about Africa as a market. So we need to think about that. So now coming into how we can develop this HR to the next step. Definitely, we have an education system, but this education system may not have a futuristic view on which education curriculum we should have. In line with the development we will have in the next 10 years. Whether we will go into agriculture more, we will go into technology more, we want to go for electronics more, automobile, how we want to develop. So I think education curriculum should fall with the future plan of the industrialization or agriculture or service industry. We probably have got a lot of MBAs which are roaming around, having difficulties in getting jobs. But when we go to find a technical person, having a good diploma or an engineering background, we find it very difficult to get the right people. So I think we need to, whether the government or UGC or any other part which are into these discussions should plan that in next 10 years or 20 years where Bangladesh should grow and align that with the curriculum or create that kind of universities or colleges to bring more people which are needed for Bangladesh.
Again, how we ensure discipline and improve productivity in our military bands. Mr. Abdullah Laki.
Talk about balancing the manufacturing and bringing into discipline. I believe it's again I will add that it's about recognizing the process and rewarding the process driver. Because what we are doing is all people driven and manager can make mistake. So we are not setting up the parameters that how do we understand the KPI for a person to improve or then what is his next level. So everywhere in terms of manufacturing, it's not necessarily only garmenting or R&D. It's everywhere that is kind of a manager person who decides who's good and who's bad. So industry as a whole need to address that, and we have to establish the process. And of course, like industry academia partnership can also reduce the gap. And all those experts we are paying can actually play a better role. We can, when we sign their permit, we can also have an undertaking from them that they will transfer this technology to the academia. And also those juniors who are
লাইট কি অফ করা নাকি? লাইট
so
কি অফ
if
করা?
we can enroll those process, we understand the gap,
হচ্ছে না
and
তো?
of course the discipline will come with the proper reward.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.
লাইভ কই?
Fashion hearing to us, and I, along with my esteemed panelists, join to thank the organizer, especially CGS, for coming up with this very important subject. So how do we transition into a developing country and identify the challenges and accordingly also trying to delineate
ভাগিন ভাই
a kind of
এখানে তো হচ্ছে না, এখানে তো নাই রে ভাই। রিফ্রেশ দিতে ক্লান্ত হয়ে গেলাম।
Thank you, honorable speakers of the session, to deliver such an excellent sessions. So now I request you to stand together to have a group photo.